We are alive, filled with your glorious light. Out of the dark, into your marvelous light. We are waiting with expectation. Spirit, raise us up with you. Let the church rise from the ashes. Let the church fall to her knees. Let us be light in the darkness. Let the church rise. Let the church rise. Moving with power, bringing your name to the earth. Singing your praises, lifting up glorious songs. We are moving with His compassion. Spirit, fill our hearts with you. Let the church rise from the ashes. Let the church fall to her knees. Let us be light in the darkness. Let the church rise. Let the church rise. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Revive us again, Lord. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Revive us again, Lord. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Revive us again, Lord. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Revive us again, Lord. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Let your wind blow. Revive us. Let the church rise from the ashes. Let the church fall to her knees. Let us be light in the darkness. Let the church rise. Let the church rise.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen Mayer, and I'm here with this week's Small Group Extra or Midweek Moment. This is our Go message series because it is the time of the year where Jesus goes back to his Father, and before he does, he gives us some parting instructions to go and make disciples and go and be his witnesses. In order to do that, Father Mike challenged each of us at Mass to think about our why. Why do we have a relationship with God and Jesus, and why do we come to church week after week? And those are some really excellent questions that are worth revisiting probably at least once a year in your life. But since he's given us that opportunity, I think we give it a shot. So I thought a lot about my own why. And it starts with my relationship with Jesus and God, and the fact that those two things give my life really purpose and meaning. They shape how I view myself, they shape how I understand my purpose in the sense of I know I've been given gifts from God, and I know that I'm operating at my best when I'm able to exercise those gifts for His benefit. Um, and everybody's gifts and what everybody is called to is different, but it's still very helpful um, to have that sense of grounding in God and God's purpose for our life. And we're not just here um, to enjoy ourselves, and we're not just here to um, survive. That God has called us all for, brought us all here for a reason. Um, and our lives are happiest when we can act according to that. Now, none of that speaks to why I bother to show up to church, because I could have that sense of grounding and purpose and relationship with God without that experience at church, although probably not for a really long time. So I was thinking about the fact that, there are people that I would consider very close friends because of the depth of our friendship that I really haven't invested in the sense of I haven't talked to them on the phone or gotten together with them in person in a really long time. And so at some point, my friendship with them is very theoretical and not particularly practical. Um, I think it's one of those things where because of the depth of it, it would be easy to revive. Um, but if I'm friends with somebody and I haven't talked to them in a really long time, it's hard to consider that friendship part of day-to-day life. And so that brings me to why I go to church, which is to make sure that my relationship with Jesus stays part of day-to-day life or week-to-week life. Um, and there are a couple of things that I experience from going to church that I just don't experience in any other way in my life. So, first is a very concrete experience of the presence of God when I walk into the church. Um, and often so much more when it's on the emptier, quieter side, because there are fewer distractions, and so I'm more attentive to that. But just setting foot in the church, like I remember last year during the pandemic, as staff coming back to the church before we had reopened to think through the flow of how Mass would go. And it was the first time I was in the building in probably 2 months. And I just wanted to take a minute and just kind of sit and soak in the space, which was unfortunate because we were having a meeting and it wasn't the appropriate time to do that. But um, so when I find God's presence in the physical space, and far more so when I receive Eucharist, that there is no other experience in life of closeness to God that parallels my ability to feel and experience God when I receive Eucharist. Um, and some days it's much more of a tangible experience, and other days it is much more of a routine experience. But on the whole, um, there are those two things. And then the third is that in the structure of Mass, with the readings and the message, I am reminded of the need to stay grounded in my day-to-day Monday through Saturday life. That is, Sunday grounds me to go forth with the rest of my week. Um, so if I wanted to think about who my Bowie Bob or Barb was, I would want to think about how they might share some of those desires that are answered, um, because I think that might be the place of common ground where we could have a conversation. And I still might not start the conversation off by saying, when I go to church, I really have a very concrete and tangible experience of Jesus in the Eucharist. That's a weird lead off. But to start with a question of how's the pandemic and what did you miss the most might give me a place where I could lead into that experience of how much I miss church and how much that helped me realize it was important to me. So I come back and I just echo Father Mike's question for the week, which is if you had to, but with maybe just a little nuance, if you had to separate your answers, what is your why for your relationship with God? And then what is your why for why you come to church?